surface and every crowd turned 7 different colors at once. Even more stunning than the exquisite tiles of old palaces and the snake charmers with their cobras had been the taxi drivers, who seemed some new superspecies of human, a bridge from Homo sapiens to whatever would come next. They were hyper-attenuated to the small movements of tourists and capable of replying in whatever language they'd been offered. She'd made the mistake at the Gemma El Afna of entering the first parked taxi she'd found on the street. But when the driver started his engine, 5 other drivers came to beat on the hood of his car and shout obscenities. There was a queue, and in accepting her fare, he hadn't respected it. She didn't understand much in this country, but she understood the drivers. There was no other group of people so willing to have their asses beat over $2 American. In Essaouira, by contrast, she walked every sun-blessed evening to Orson Welles Square, where people congregated and listened to the Nawa drummers, and to the Scala, where the gulls soared overhead sighting fish in the market. Then through the Medina's covered walkway and up to the turret overlooking the Atlantic. She and Vlad took dinner at a different restaurant every night, and Vlad wrapped scraps of fish in his napkin to scatter to the stray cats and dogs they'd pass on their walk home. Sometimes she'd walk to Babdukala and take the long way back to the hotel, past what seemed to be the town liquor store and its accompanying prostitute, decked out in a woolen coat and high heels. A distinctive lime green bicycle parked outside, one that belonged to the bearded Belgian she'd met her first day walking the beach. Maybe every small Moroccan town had one, she thought. An expat alcoholic. Vlad was one of 2 American engineers on the project, the other being a younger woman named Jitka Shtanova, who'd been in a car wreck 5 years earlier and had her entire face reconstructed to a supermodel level of chiseling. Jitka regularly wore black leather pants to work, Vlad told her. He spoke of her often, in tones of hushed admiration, and Shannon was glad for him that he had someone to speak English with during his long weeks in Morocco. Away from the demands of managing his speech in the company of people who could interpret its English language undertone of dork, he relaxed into a sexier, less cowed version of himself. At night, he ripped the buttons off her shirt. He growled. She giggled. It felt to her like another beginning, like the foreign film version of their marriage. She asked about Jitka, whether she might like to join them for dinner some evening, but Vlad said she would not. "But who is she going to speak English to?" Shannon asked. "She's from Poland. English isn't even her second language. But she doesn't know anyone here." Vlad chuckled once, mirthlessly. "She's doing fine for herself. Jitka's not the lonely type." And so Vlad was high up in the hills of Diaba with his surveys, and she was riding down the main street in a petite blue taxi that seemed to be held together by one metal bar bolted to the inside of both front doors. She could feel the axle turning under her very feet. God, she thought, what a country. It was raining, so she walked through the covered part of the Medina, passing stall after stall of dried leaves and herbal cures. They were stuffed in bushel baskets, with 3x5 cardboard signs explaining their uses. In every shop stood concoctions of Viagra, mostly misspelled as Viagra. Viagra fort, Viagra pour les femmes, Viagra pour grimper les rideaux. She thought to buy some for Vlad as a joke, but she knew without the signs she'd just be offering him raw herbs in a paper sack. The joke would be lost. She was walking past a fabric store, eyeing a yard of purple cloth with gold thread running through, when she saw her. A little girl of about 3,